Hello and welcome to the Parentless Daughter Podcast. I am joined by, I don't even have enough words, one of my favorite people. Truly, I've only known you for like a year, not even maybe, and you've already become one of my favorite people, Rudie Jay, someone who has been, I think, such a confidant in my grief journey as well. And having you on here is like the greatest honor. You were seriously one of the first people I thought of when I thought of this podcast. So welcome to Rudie Jay. How are you?
I'm great. How are you?
I'm good. I'm so excited to have you on here. Literally
I'm
so
excited to be here. Like, throwback to our little corner cafe grief debrief.
Yeah, right? I know. I feel like we should have just had a camera then. It would have been so good.
Yeah.
It would have been golden. But like honestly, all of our little because I always get to put, fun fact about me, I'm a psychopath, as Rudie knows, and I like to get to Pilates like 15 minutes before to claim a specific spot. I have not been anywhere else and I refuse. But because I get there early, we tend to have a lot of grief chats, which I love. It's so nice.
Yeah, it is nice to have someone that you don't have to like filter
That.
and to know you're like, yeah, this is like open book. We're down to talk about this.
It's honestly people would think like, oh, like, isn't it hard to kind of talk about that, like, especially before Pilates or whatever, but I find it really refreshing and really like, I can finally be myself right now. And like, I don't have to put on the mask of, oh, I'm fine. Everything's fine.
Totally.
It's all okay. But when I feel like I'm with someone who maybe we don't understand the grief in the same way, because I don't have siblings, I'll never understand that grief. And it's the same, you've not lost both parents, but we both understand grief and grief when we're so young. So that, I think, for me has been extremely important to have other people, because I don't have many people in my circle who are on the same path of grief as me.
It changes you big time.
It does.
Huge.
Huge. Okay, so let's dive in. What would you like to start by telling us about your brother? So that is who we're centering the conversation around you, but also him. He's a big reason. He's probably the biggest reason we're talking today. So diving right in, what would you like to tell us about him? Like, paint the picture. Who was he?
Ooh, that's a big one. Yeah. My brother was like the hugest, larger than life personality. Like, I actually write about this in my book. Like, he just lit up every room he was in. He was so loud, but not in an obnoxious way. Like, it was like he had that contagious laughter. He was tall. He was so freaking handsome. It was annoying, but like, you just couldn't be like, you couldn't help but just be drawn to him when he was in a room, you know?
Why is that you though? Why is
literally.
Literally?
Do you know how many people were like, and here's the thing, us together in a room, like a volcanic explosion, because we bonded in that same sort of way. But it's, like, not to get so dark so fast, but because he was such a big presence, you just, like, I don't know, it's hard to not have him. I mean, it'd be hard anyways, but like, he's just a very obvious absence.
I really feel like, first off, I love that I'm like, describe your brother, and I'm just like, you just describe yourself, please. Who are you? That's like,
kind of, yeah. And we did look similar.
Like, oh my gosh,
know.
Like, I can attest. I've seen pictures and twins. Like, he has a twin.
And he has a twin, which is the funny thing, because our teachers in high school used to say, like, I don't know who's prettier, like you or your brother. Like, it's the weirdest, you know?
Two peas in a pod. And
I guess honestly, we were more similar than I realized.
I feel like you guys are much more similar than you realize, not even just in looks, but I just feel like you have the same like vibe and same like personality, that like almost addictive personality. Like anyone would open up to you. Like literally I sit down at the coffee shop with you and I'm like spill everything in my life to you, and I feel so comfortable and confident doing that. And I feel like your brother would be the same, which is really funny because even though your brother, completely different age group than my parents, but I feel like my dad and your brother weirdly would have been like the best of friends if they were the same age, because they seem so similar. Like they just light up a room, friends with everyone. Like you go somewhere and they know someone. I'm like, we're everywhere. In a different country. How do you know someone here? Why?
Yeah.
And I just feel like that. I feel like that's also you. You like that? Just a little bit.
A little bit.
A little bit.
Would you say your dad was also like a social butterfly? Like my brother was like, can't stay home, always has to have plans, always out on the town, looking fresh. Like in that sense, we're so different. I'm like I'm an introvert. I need to be home. Yeah.
Just have to be a homebody. Yeah, my dad was 100% always out, always traveling. I will say he didn't always feel the need to look like fresh. This man wore the same like rotation of outfits, which I feel like is so like
I respect that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like,
I respect that.
So dad, same shoes for like my entire life basically. So that they differ there, but that could also be like age thing. I have no clue what he was like when he was like 20. Maybe he was more. I hear he was a ladies' man, so
that tracks.
I don't know. Maybe he was more into fashion and clothing then, and then when he landed my mom, he was like, same three outfits, we're good. We're fine. And I love that.
I love it.
Okay, wait. We need to share your brother's name if you're comfortable with that. I feel like,
of course.
Yeah.
Yeah. So his full name is Emilio, but we called him Mills. Yeah. We have Mills. Mills is kind of like the friends and family would call him Mills. Yeah.
Millie is such a cute nickname too.
I know.
I feel like when I picture him and when we're talking about him, I only ever think of his name as Millie. I don't think of another name. I'm like, that's him.
And that's funny because I feel like that was more like my mom's name for him. Like my mom always called him Millie. Like you would never hear her name like Mills, you know?
Yeah, I feel like I can't picture a parent calling him Mills for some reason.
Yeah,
Mills.
Yeah.
Millie.
And I feel like that was like the nickname reserved for mom. Yeah, him, like Millie. Yeah.
Specific for her. I love that. That's cute. So I feel like I feel like we can kind of guess how this question's going to go because you already described what he was like and you two are so similar. But what would you say your relationship was like before he passed? Would you say, because there was how much of an age gap between you two? 3 years? 3 years? So what would you say that relationship looked like? Because he was 23? 22?
He 25 when he passed. 25.
Decreasing his age. 25 when he passed, and you were 28?
28.
28. Okay.
Yeah.
So what was that relationship like between the two of you?
Oh, man. Yeah, my brother and I were very, very close. I feel like I've always been like that. So I have 3 brothers. And
that always blows my mind to me.
I know.
Like, 3 brothers. As an only child, I'm like, oh my God. But, sorry to interrupt. I feel like you are the perfect person to have 3 brothers. I can't picture you having a sister.
I know.
That sounds wrong.
Well, no, but it's true. They really did shape a lot of like how I am and who I am. But so I have one older brother and then my twin brothers. But I have always been big sister. You know what I mean? I just was caretaker in that way. Very, very close with them. Always wanted to. My brother, I was the call in the middle of the night. My brother would call me I'm having this fight with my girlfriend, or I need a ride, or it was just always I look over my phone and ringing at some random hour, and I always knew it was him, and I'm just he's always up to something, and someone's always messaging me on social media hey, and you're just oh my gosh. But it was without question, you know, like I lent him money, picked him up. Like to me, I was just like, yeah, no question. That's how we are, who we are. And honestly, just joking about everything all the time. Like
I love
that. Yeah. Like as many times as we would have those like deep conversations, like he's calling me, having like a freak out moment, whatever, like he was a young parent. So I obviously helped out with a lot of that. And there was a lot that went on behind the scenes, but like it just as much as we were deep about things, we were very laughing about everything, always wanted to have a good time. Like I think he's always trying to push me out of my like control level. I'm a little type A, I'm a little OCD, but I think also because I always had to like be the one to like take care of everyone and like figure it all out, have the solutions, move them in when they lost their apartments, when they broke up with their partner, like whatever. I always had to be just so. So I think he was always trying to like also push me out of that a little bit. So he liked to like see me have fun and like, yeah. But my brother and I were very, very close. Yeah.
I feel like that is like maybe not the perfect balanced relationship, but when it comes to siblings, especially the fact that he's younger, I feel like that is just so like perfect that he's trying to, you know, push you out of your comfort zone and, you know, do different things. And then on the other hand, you're also the person.
He's like, help.
Yeah. He's like, help. You know, trying to push you, but also like help.
Yeah. Yeah.
Like 100%. Would you say that out of your three brothers at the time, were you the closest to him, or do you find, because I don't have siblings, I don't know if like every sibling is just closer to like one sibling forever, or if that like changes in different situations, or you're close to a sibling for like a time, like I don't know how it works. And you have three. I
love
this
question.
Not like you just have one where it's like, yeah, of course it's my one and only, but you have three.
I love this question. I think so me and my twin brothers were the same amount of close, I would say. However, the dynamic between me and all of my brothers individually, totally different. Like his twin, like my other brother, he's not calling me, asking me for, like, he just wasn't that, like, he's home playing his video games that night, solid, like, different. But I wouldn't say that I was closer necessarily to Mills. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And I will say now, in light of everything, I also sort of came to find that there are seasons with your siblings, like me and my older brother are almost closer in a different sense because we're both at like similar stages in like our lives in terms of career and partners. It's like, it's a different thing. But when we were younger, I wasn't as close with my older brother. I don't really know why. Like, there's a million reasons, but like, it just was a different relationship, different bond. Yeah. But I would say like my whole family, like as a whole, we are a very close family. Like that's something people will say about us. Like they'll come over for dinner, like, you guys talk about everything, or you guys are so, and we're just like, what? Don't you? No.
I love that like you all are close, but also like in your own ways. Like everyone has like their own relationship with each other, which doesn't outweigh another relationship, if that makes sense. Like there's no
well, I actually think it's funny though, because like twins, it's such a crazy bond. And I only know like being around my brothers, but I will say like the closeness that they have and had, like it's a bond that like I'll never understand. And like,
you don't know life without them, really. Like from conception, you are together. Like you only know what life is like with them. And I can't imagine what your brother went through when he lost his twin. I mean, I would never want, like, obviously you to speak for him, but I can just imagine that it affected all of you for sure, because he's a brother to all of you, but for him it would probably be a different kind of loss. Because there's also a sense of, like, identity with being a twin, in a way, you know? Like, that's how you always...
Totally.
I would assume when you are a twin, you described like, oh yeah, I have like a sister, a brother, and a twin. You know, like, or like, yeah, I have
It's
a
its
brother,
own.
yeah, like it's
It's so
always
true.
mentioned. And even if they don't look identical, and you may also find this too because you look a lot like your brother. I watched this movie Twinless the other day, and one thing that shocked me, it's about losing a twin, actually.
Wow.
One thing that shocked me, yeah, I know. I thought of that right now because this thought just reminded me that I never thought about this, that twin, every time like he looked in the mirror or people looked at him, they were instantly reminded of his twin. When I'm looking in the mirror, I can see him. It's not just me. And I feel like for you, you could also relate to that because you do look a lot like your brother. Like, do you ever have those feelings when you look in the mirror and you're like, oh, there's Millie, not just there's Rudie?
So funny. I don't think that I had that with how I look physically, but I do think that in hindsight, me and him were a lot more similar than I realized.
Yeah.
And not having him here almost makes me like see it a little bit more. And like, yeah, I don't know. It's tricky. I will say, like, I've had friends and like people around me say like it was weird to be in my presence because they're like, oh, you kind of look like him. But I don't think that I felt that. Yeah.
Yeah.
No.
I'm curious if your brothers would have been identical, how that would have
I know.
changed even his grief path, and it would just been a whole other layer, I think, because that
Yes.
identical is.
I know.
Yeah.
It's almost like ripping the Band-Aid off over and over. I don't know. I think that'd be just be weird. So yeah.
Like in this movie, he was at like the funeral and stuff, and people kept coming up to him being like, oh my god, you look so much like, I think the character, the twin that died was Rocky. You look so much like Rocky. Or he was in the grocery store and they would just be like, oh, Rocky, and they were like, oh wait, no, that's your Roman or whatever.
Frig.
And I'm like, ooh, I never thought of that.
That's sticky.
Yeah, I really, truly, that movie just made me very aware, like, of twin loss and how impactful. It's impactful, I'm sure, to lose a sibling point blank, but to lose a twin, identical twin as well.
No, that's a whole other.
Whole other ballpark. Whole other. Was there a moment when reality kind of hit you with losing him? Actually, let's backtrack. If you're comfortable with talking about what happened to him, we would love for you to share that. If you're not, though, you do what's comfortable for you.
Yeah, so we're coming up to it's I'm like, is it March? It's February now. So we're actually coming up to coming up because February's so short. You're like, is it over yet? Did it happen?
I know. We're already halfway through, so
I know. Yeah, so we're coming up to 7 years now. So my brother was he was actually shot we're from Ottawa originally, so he was shot in downtown Ottawa, outside of a nightclub. And without getting into the full details of everything, I feel like people's follow-up is normally like, did he know the guy? Was there a fight? Which is a little bit like, I don't think there was ever a reason that would even justify that, even if there was. But yeah, it just,
there's never
honestly,
a reason to kill someone.
No.
Like, I just, unless someone is literally coming at you with like a freaking knife, and
unless it's like self-defense, yeah,
like, but even then,
I don't
know.
So there was no events leading up to it. No, he didn't know the guy. There was no, pre-existing like vendetta. Like it honestly at this point, like just for peace of everything, is just like wrong place, wrong time. Who knows? I could spend forever like trying to process like why. And it's kind of crazy because this all happened before COVID. So there was actually a trial, and the trial was pushed back 2 years. So
oh my God.
That said, we didn't know actually the details of what happened until 2 years later, which was agony. But I actually saw everything. There was a 7-week trial, and I actually saw there was camera footage, there was audio, and then there was witnesses, and obviously those who testified and stuff. So so I basically just see everything, hear everything.
See, like, on one hand, I'm kind of like peace of mind in a way of seeing what happened, I guess. But then on the other hand, it's like seeing all those moments and you can't do anything about it. Like, you're watching this after the fact. Like, it's, it's hard because it's like, would you rather live not knowing or knowing? It's kind of that.
I know. And a lot of people have said that to me, like, why would you want to go? Like, why did you see? Because, like, my brothers came for, like, a little bit of the trial, but I was there for all of it. And that was part of my grief. That was part of my peace, honestly. I think that I went to bed every single night picturing what could have happened with the pieces that I have. So I was like, whether I know what actually happened, I'm already seeing it. I'm already living my version of it. So, like, I was like, at this point, is it going to be more, like, is it going to be worse for me to actually see what happened? And in hindsight, like, there's a lot of PTSD that I'm like, oh yeah, I think that affected me in ways that I could not have fathomed. Yeah. But who's to say that it would be any different if I didn't see it? You know what I mean?
For me, because I had 2 very different losses with my parents. My mom's, I knew that, like, it was coming. It was also, like, 12 years in the making in a way. But my dad's was, not like your brother's in the sense that he was killed, but like your brother's in the sense that it was sudden. One day he was here and next day, like, and there was no warning signs. There was no sickness or anything major. Not knowing at the beginning exactly why or what happened. I personally, for me, it's that Aries in me that's got to know, like, every detail. I want to know every single detail. Give me all the details.
That's what it was.
My mind will think of the worst. And I'd rather just, even if it is the worst, I'd rather just know. And so I'm right there with you. I think I would have done the exact same thing. And there's also no right or wrong with how you handle it. It's your journey. It's your decision on what you think you can handle. And everyone's different. So I get why your brothers didn't go, and I get why you did.
Yeah, I think it was a little bit of like a big sister, like, felt like it would do something, like, you know what I mean? Like guilt or like, who knows? But I will say, like, I did have some peace of mind in sort of knowing that my brother didn't do anything wrong. Not that I thought that he did or would, but it was just like, I feel like if this had happened and maybe you're thinking in your head, like, oh, why did he, like, do that thing? Why did he could have circumvented but it wasn't like that. It was literally like, he, apart from like staying home, you know what I mean? He didn't antagonize, he didn't do anything, so if anything, it just kind of, I don't know, preserved sort of who we all know him to be, if that makes sense.
No, for sure. And I feel like that, not that even if he had done anything that would even, I feel like, change your perception or anything, because at the end of the day, again, he didn't deserve what happened to him no matter what. 100%. But like you said, it really just showed and solidified who he was and what he stood for. And I think that's so nice to know that he was so true to who he was and how he acted and who you thought he was. So that is really nice. Do you think that there was a moment throughout the trial, before or after, or have you still not really had this moment of, like, reality hitting you that he is gone and not coming back? Because I feel like for me, I have little moments all the time, but I still have those moments that I go to call my dad, or I go to text him.
I was just going to say that.
Yeah, and it's like, I've had moments of reality of, like, he's dead, and it hits me, and they've been big ones, but I constantly still have moments of, like, with the Olympics on. My dad and I love the Olympics. I had this moment where I was like, oh, I need to tell him the hockey game's on, and I was like, wait a minute. cannot do that. Cannot call him. And I just, do you get a lot of those still? Because you're coming up to 7 years now. Do you find that it's decreased, it's stayed the same, or comes in waves?
Oh yeah, definitely decreased. Like if I think back to, first week, first few days, it was like a constant, like, oh my gosh, oh my gosh, oh my gosh. And like your brain is just struggling to like make sense. And you're thinking of like, well, what about, like it doesn't make sense. And I think you're in that state constantly, of like, holy shit, they're gone. Holy shit, they're gone. Like what was my last hug? What was my last memory? What was the last blah, blah, blah. And I think definitely that softens over time. But I like right before you said that, I was like, oh my gosh, I think this was like last summer. I was driving home from work one night and a song came on, or something that happened that at work that I was like, only Mills would get this. And I literally, it like knocked my breath because I had the thought, but usually like you'll have the thought and then you'll stop it. I fully like reached for my phone to like call him on the way home. And I was like, whoa. And then like, and then you're like, okay, wow. Yeah, that's still there. Like that is still present. So much more far and few in between, but like, yeah, it's definitely still like you come back to it. And I think another moment where it always sort of hits me is when I'm with my other brothers, and it feels like
peace.
But it feels exactly. But it feels like, wait, it actually feels like we're missing like 10 people. You're sitting there, and you're like, oh, everybody's here, but I'm almost always like, wait, and it feels so small. If that makes sense.
No, 100%. Do you find that since his passing that like family functions and stuff have been hard or obviously different because he's not there, but do you find that everyone kind of deals obviously with grief in their own way? Do you find it hard to be together as a unit now that you're missing one?
I think in the beginning we were really trying like to always do something or like make sure it was like almost force it in a way, like, okay, we have to be together for this, we have to, the anniversary of his death, like, and then I think it's interesting actually, just this year it was almost as if everybody collectively gave a breath of like permission to not have so much build up around like needing it to be away or needing to prove to ourselves or to each other that it like we still have to consolidate, because I think it's only natural to want to, but I don't know. I don't think that I don't know. I don't necessarily know how helpful it actually was for us to always try and force being this like normal family. And I say that because it's the easiest word to use, but it's just like, it's not normal anymore. It just isn't. Like everything changed. We're all changed. Our dynamics individually are changed. And some of us would want to celebrate, some of us would and it was just this thing where we're like, ugh, and then we're all meeting each other. We're all like, yeah, I don't know how I'm feeling with this. But anyway, so all to say, yeah, it definitely has been tricky over the years, but I think we're finally at this place where we're like, okay, if we want to, we can. And also that it just doesn't have to look a certain way anymore. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Because especially in earlier years, like, everyone was going through their own grief journey and in a different way because they all lost someone different to them, if that makes sense. You lost a younger brother. Your younger brother lost a twin. Your mom lost a son. He played a different role in everyone's lives, so everyone's not going to grieve the same. 100%. And the way you come together as a family will be different for each person. Some may feel like getting together is, feels like a breath of fresh air. Some may find it such a struggle. Like I personally find it hard to be around my family because I notice my parents missing. And others, may feel differently, that it's nice to get together. So that I can so respect how the early years would have been a challenge with everyone kind of, different wavelengths of grief.
Yeah.
Especially because there are so many of you. Again, it's not just like you and one other person.
Yeah. Oh yeah. When I think back to like the Thanksgiving and the holidays that we tried to orchestrate just was like, oh my man, God bless us. We tried, but like, yes, chaos. Like I think one year I like got everybody like an ugly Christmas sweater, and I was like hyper vigilant. I was like, you have to wear it, you have to wear it. Like everybody has to. And I was like, really, we're doing this? But like, honestly, love my family so much because I also think about that. And I'm like, okay, everybody saw that that was my little, like, guys, we have to wear these freaking sweaters. We have to do something, and everyone did, you know. But at this point, if you tried to get my family to wear an ugly Christmas, they did. We're like, no.
Like,
you know,
enough. We're not going there this year.
Like that was cute. Yeah, that was cute. Down like we're over that.
Yeah, not cute anymore. Forget about it. Get out.
Yeah.
Speaking in the same sense of family, because your brother did have a son. I can't even imagine because he was really young. He was 3.
He was like 3.5. Yeah.
Really little.
He was
really
baby.
Little. Yeah, literal baby. How have you found that it has affected your journey being an aunt? You know, to a child that is your brother's kid who he lost his dad. Has that, do you think, played a huge role in how you've navigated your own grief journey? Or do you think that it kind of had its own path? How would you describe that? Because for me, like, again, no siblings. I have no clue. I can't imagine what that would be like to have this child who also, again, reminds you of your brother. And yeah, how have you managed with that and navigated that?
I will say, like, truthfully, that actually might be the hardest part of this whole journey. For me personally, like, even before my brother passed, I was that big sister. So I was like watching my nephew when he was 1. I was like, my brother would call, like, whatever. Like, I did a lot with my nephew. And so we were all very close. Like, they were always at my place. And like, yeah. So in his passing, I just remember, like, my own pain aside, I was like, oh my gosh. I remember begging, like, whatever God you believe in you. I just remember being like, I would give up anything. I would give up the ability to see my brother myself if he could just have his dad back. If they could just be reunited, because just watching my nephew, like, telling him, and he didn't really understand it at the beginning, and he would say things, kids are so pure, so he would say things that almost like just cut at you, you know? And I think we were all kind of, because he's the only nephew, everyone kind of rallied. It was like this unspoken, like, we feel for him the most. Like, he's this little boy without his dad, and like, they were so close, and like, that's been really, really, really challenging. And like, to try to stay connected with him without my brother here, to like not overstep the boundary with him and his mom, and like what they've agreed is their grief container. It's different from my family, you know? So it's crazy. And then for him to ask questions, and then you're like, okay, how much do you want to tell him? And so anyways, I will say, for a long time. So like, I live in Belleville now, and I've been here for about 2 years, but I realize now in hindsight, living so close to everybody, my nephew especially, really actually kind of stifled my own grief process, because I was so intent on making sure my nephew was okay. He never felt like going above and beyond, like, just all of the things. And I didn't actually realize how much I had put my own process on pause, trying to take care and manage everyone and everything. So
that would be so challenging, because then you would have, moments of grief that typically would hit you maybe year 1 or year 2, hitting you like year 3, 4, 5, 6,
literally
7, like those moments are hitting you later, and you kind of get to the point in grief, which our society sucks, where after year 1 they're like, you're fine.
Isn't that crazy?
Good. It drives me insane. I feel like year 2 I feel everything way more than I did year 1, because
year 1 you're numb.
I'm so numb, and I had everything to do with my dad's house and just everything in general with him. I couldn't even tell you what happened last year other than his house. Like, that's all I remember. And I can't imagine for you having to kind of push your grief aside and focus on this little child where your grief is constantly coming up because you're with him. It's not his fault, but like your grief is there when you're with him because he is part of your brother. And that is a really hard thing to think of and to look at. It's almost like kind of being like a parent when you lose someone, like a spouse, and you have your kids to look after. You know, in a way, like that aunt that shows up all the time who, you know, is another, you're not a parent, but a adult figure, parental figure, especially with your brother not being here and managing his grief, especially. I'm sure this part has been the hardest as he ages. He becomes more aware and more, you know, just questioning everything. Like you said, he wants to know what happened. I'm sure at this point he's 11, 10? Yeah, and that's 11. An age you start to get it, like, you know.
Well, and 100%. And we kind of had like a family meeting, and I spoke with his mom, and I kind of said, like, if he asks, because he's at the stage where he was starting to ask, and I was like, I think he's old enough to kind of know. And anyways, we had kind of decided that, like, if it comes up, like, we'll be as transparent as we can without obviously, like, you know, just being careful with how we say it. And I'll never forget, I picked him up. We were going somewhere. I picked him up, and he said some kids at school were asking about his dad. And I guess maybe other parents, or I don't know, someone had said something. And I said, oh, like, do you want to know, sort of thing? Is that why you're bringing it up? And he was really careful with, like, how he would say it, you know? And he was just like, yeah, I want to know what happened. And I'm like, are you sure? You know, have had that conversation. And I told him, and he just, like, quiet, and he, like, cried a little bit. And I just put, like, the music on, and we just, like, drove. And you have no idea. I go, this is a kid. And I just told him, like, I always just try to tell him, like, however, if you're mad, be mad. If you're sad, be sad. If you're whatever, you know, just trying to let him know that, like, we are a place that he can share. But yeah, no doubt, every time I would see Manavir spend time with him, like, oh my gosh, it came with its own, like, I can't imagine how his mom, day after day. But anyways, that's a whole other. But yeah, I will.
Your mom too, like your mom. Lost a child, and seeing her grandchild being a reflection of her own child.
Oh, and she said he's like him, like, in little ways. She's like, oh my gosh, their temperament, like, just the. And I was like, no way, because, like, we obviously don't know that, you know. But yeah, I will say that's been the hardest layer of, like, what.
I believe it, because kids, they're so intuitive, but I know, like, they also don't understand things when they're so young. Like, when my mom got sick, I was 8, about to be 9, and I did not understand what the hell was going on. But I do remember so vividly my dad and my grandma telling me that my mom had an aneurysm and that she was in the hospital. Like, those big moments, like, I'm sure your nephew will remember how well you handled that, and you know, just feeling comforted, because they are very important moments, and they're really scary moments, honestly. Like, it's terrifying finding that out about your parent, you know, especially when you don't understand. Like, I didn't know what the heck an aneurysm was. Like, what do you mean a vein pops in your head? Like, that's how my brain, like, still to this day, understands what it is, because I still think of it as when I was 8.
Yeah, now that you have the information, you look back and you're like, oh, I thought that at that time.
100%.
Crazy.
So many moments like that, and, like, especially with my mom, you'll probably understand this too, the first few years being so fuzzy, but put that in with, like, an 8-year-old who also, like, you know, your memories aren't super clear at that age already. 8 to, like, 12, I would say, is, like, so fuzzy for me that it just, so many things are intertwined with that. Your nephew, though, the way you handled that was perfect, coming from a child who, I didn't lose my mom, like, physically at 8, but mentally and who she was, I completely lost my mom when I was 8. So the way you handled that was beautifully, because he will constantly have questions. More questions come as he gets older too. And I think it's so important to be, transparent with the lens that he's still a child. You know what I mean? Like, don't lie, but you also don't have to be like so blunt.
Protect but don't lie. Yeah.
100%. Again, for me, like I didn't feel like I had that safe space to like ask questions. People around me would just say, "Oh, I don't know," or kind of pass it off. Yeah, and I feel like my dad didn't really sit me down over the years and explain things to me, and I think it's so important because again, he will continue to get older and he will have more questions, and also with Google being around,
I know.
I want him just to Google things.
The amount of times I'm like, oh gosh, he's gonna look up his dad's name and he's gonna see articles and like yeah. That's part of the reason we were like, just gotta tell him something,
Super fair. A little bit of a pivot moment. You mentioned this earlier about
my book.
I have it here with me. More Grace for Grief, everyone. The most beautiful book. Rudie gave this to me right before a Pilates class. And I didn't even see the little note she wrote until like I got home way later and was like, tears just coming down. But let's talk a little bit about this book. Do you find, and I feel like I already know the answer to this because you're such a creative mind when it comes to words, point blank. Do you find that this has been a really therapeutic route for you with writing and poetry overall? Like, has that been a big release for you, do you find?
Oh, 100%.
Yeah.
And to be honest, the reason I started tapping so deeply into my creative craft was because I lost my brother. Like, there's no way I would be where I am in the creative journey. I wouldn't have had the experiences. I wouldn't have had the desire. Like, if it hadn't been for that loss, for sure. It was a pure, like, it began as just like an outlet, like just kind of journaling, processing, chronicling everything. And then I was like, oh yeah, no, this is powerful. And it just, honestly, it's like I said, it's been almost 7 years and I don't really miss a day of writing ever. Like
I love that.
Yeah.
It's such a good outlet because even if you don't share it, you still have it and you've gotten it out on paper, even if you're not speaking it to people, you're
100%
speaking it to paper in a way.
Yes. Well, and it's a spiritual, creativity is a spiritual experience. So whether you're like a painter, a writer, a singer, like something's moving through you. And I think for me in the beginning, I was like, ooh, this is a way, unconsciously, but like this is a way to stay connected to my brother. Because I fully believe my brother's a spirit. I'm not someone who is like, my brother is dead and he's gone. I'm not agnostic. Like he's not here, he's gone. It's like, come on, there's no way. Like there's been so many things that he's little moments, he's giving me messages, giving me signs, like, and the act of creativity, I just feel like that was something I like was like, I'm going to hold this forever because it is directly how I connect with him. Like if I shut this off, I'm shutting him off essentially is what that feels like.
Yeah. Oh, I love that. That I feel that so deeply because I feel like I can't stand when people are like, oh, like your parents are just dead. That's it, whatever. I'm like, no, I know my parents are around me all the time. Sometimes I find it really hard to acknowledge that they're around me because I want them here physically so bad.
100%.
So people just saying like, oh, they're with you always. I'm like,
you're like, yeah, shut up.
I'm like, yeah. I'm like, no.
Only I can say that. You can't say that.
No, yeah. Only I can tell myself that.
Yes.
You cannot tell me that.
No.
Like, literally, if like looks could burn through people, when people tell me that, because it drives me crazy. Because
I know.
Sometimes yes, I know they're with me and I know they'll always be a part of me. But there are days that is like not enough. Like they need to physically.
It's not enough. Yes.
It's not enough.
And I see them, touch them. Mm-hmm.
Yes. I want to hear their voices and not just like a recording. I want to hear them now replying to me. That is a big thing for me that drives me crazy. Have you found that there's been something within your grief journey that people either say or do or assume that kind of like drives you up a wall? Even if it's from like a really good place. Like I know people mean well when they say that, but just kind of
yeah, I know. I think any of the like the general platitudes of like, you know, if you couldn't handle it, this wouldn't have happened, or like the strongest warriors get the hardest battles, or like stuff like that. And just like, yeah, like the generic, they're always with you. But I think it's more like I appreciate the intention behind it, but I think for me, where it gets me a little bit is when you can kind of tell the other person is uncomfortable. So they're just going to give you like a blanket Hallmark card statement as opposed, you know what I mean? As opposed to being like maybe curious or being like, oh, what is it that you miss about them? Or, oh, tell, you know, I generally, I think that's where that comes from for me. Like people kind of, and listen, it's not people, it's the system. Like we're not taught how to process grief. We're not taught how to be curious about it or open about it. And I think that it would go a long way if we could be a little more human instead of, I get it's an uncomfortable, it can be uncomfortable, but it's just like, maybe don't blanket statement like, you're okay, or it'll be okay, when you're like, dude,
I fully agree.
You have no idea.
I fully agree. That the you will be okay one is one that actually, that is my number one of shut up and get away from me right this minute. Like
it's like, I know I'm gonna be okay.
Like I know I'm okay, but it's very invalidating. Like I'm not okay right now.
Exactly.
But being okay in the future, like great. Was that supposed to just fix everything in this moment? No, like that doesn't do anything. Ooh, that is my number one. But I fully agree that those blanket like statements, and they usually, I would say 98% of the time come from a very good place. Like people truly think that they mean really well and that they're being super sweet and compassionate, and in a way they are, but it gets tiring when everyone is saying that and you hear that 5 times a day. It's like, okay, can someone just like ask me about my loved one? You know, I feel like people are so scared that it will hurt us or that we'll cry and they won't know how to handle our emotions. But it's like, my emotions aren't for you to handle, they're for me to handle. So if I cry, I got me, don't worry about it. Like,
preach.
It's okay. And tears aren't always going to be like, oh my god, my heart's broken. I could be crying because, you know, the love I have for my parents is just so big, you know. And I 100%. Think people don't understand that we as grievers, most of us, I wouldn't say everyone because everyone's different, but most of us just want to talk about our loved one, right?
100%.
Like, you just want to be asked, like, hey, what was Millie's favorite color? What was his favorite food? What did he, you know, enjoy doing the most? Like, did he play sports? Did he sing? Did he, you know, like, you just want people to ask you these things. And it sucks when they give you a blanket statement of, oh, he's always with you. Like, thank you. Good.
You do not understand the assignment.
No, like, give me something different. But your book truly, I felt every word you said. I actually have marked my favorite pages because I constantly go back. And
can you tell me one? Literally, just like side note, even. I just like love that. I love hearing what resonates with people.
Which ones how many do I have? 3 that are my, like, when I'm having a day, I go back and I read these ones. Like, I'm not even kidding. This is truly what I do. You Made It that is my one that I have, is You Made It. That is, I go back to that one a lot. I think the one that hits me the absolute most, though, is Bargaining. That one, yeah. Do you have the book with you? Do you want to read it? Do you want to read it?
Yeah, one sec.
Okay. Yeah, can you read either bargaining or your favorite, because like I'd read bargaining, but like you just, obviously it's yours, you do it way better than I ever could. So
No, bargaining's perfect. I love that little snippet.
yeah, I love that.
Yeah, so I broke the book up in the stages of grief,
Mm-hmm.
and then everything inside is very much non-linear, but anyways, bargaining is one of those stages. Dreams, the sun, my own laugh, of course. He's here. I know he is. But is he really gone?
Oof.
I know. People have said that one to me, and I'm like, sorry.
Yeah, that one, and especially with what we were just talking about with
yes.
like, I know they're here, but like, are they really gone? Like, what? Yeah, that one. That's why I have it marked in my book.
Thank you. I really appreciate that. It resonated.
If you are listening to this podcast and you want a grief book that just hits the spots.
It hits the spots, like the big ones, but the not so big ones too.
Yeah,
it's pretty raw.
Link it, if I can, in my description on YouTube and Spotify. If I can't, then I'll put it in the comments, because it is such a good read. I think it took me like 3 days to be able to actually get through it. I couldn't read it.
And that's short. That's short, because it's one to be digested in like little sips for sure.
I needed to like take
it's heavy
in and just really feel each message on the page. Yeah. And
I appreciate that.
I couldn't believe, I was like, why is this taking me so long to read? Because it's not super thick. And I was just like, it's just so, not heavy in a bad way, but heavy in a great way, that it makes me think of, oh yeah, I see myself in these words. I see my parents in these words. I see our relationship in these words. And that is what really hit. Oof. Yeah.
I'm so happy to hear that. That was the intention.
And you did it justice. What does honoring him look like now, aside from your writing? How does that look like?
Oh man. So the first thing that just popped into my mind was just like, I think about having a bad day, or I think about a moment, or I think about something going wrong when I'm very much pulled into my like pain and my and he was just one of those souls that would just be like, come on, you gotta laugh, you gotta I hear him and I've seen him, and he would just, it's just, I gotta live. Like Nils lived. Like I could write a book about all the stories. Like how did that happen to this guy in his short 25 years? Like just the amount of situations he found himself in, the amount of things he experienced. Like he was not afraid. He was not afraid. Like he was beyond his years, always, just 10 steps ahead. And I think the best way that I honor him is like, just live. And like, it sounds so cheesy, and I'm like, oh, that's so cheesy, but like, he would be like, come on, I'd be having a day, and I'm telling you, he's like right there, and he's just like, come on, Rudie, like, come on, sis, like, you gotta get up, you gotta go, you gotta do it. Or if it's like an experience or an opportunity is coming up, and I'm like, maybe, and he's like, come on. Yeah. Yeah.
I love that. No, that's not cheesy. It's not any, that is, I think losing someone, especially when you lose people so young, really makes you, I don't know, aware of how short life is and how fast life can change, and how you really should just, enjoy life.
It's precious.
Yeah, so important. No, I love that so much. Before I ask the last big question, what do you wish people understood about losing a sibling? Because I feel like me as an only child, I can't even imagine what that's like, and I can't even imagine what that's like to lose a sibling so young. Because yes, as you get older, obviously it's the same with losing your parents. Like, we die, that is life. But you lost a sibling so young, before, he really even got into his adult life. Like, he was barely an adult, let's be real. Like, he was still a kid, truly. And so were you in a way. Like, you were still in your 20s. You were still so young. You will go so much of your life not having him there. And if you have kids, like, that's a big thing for me is with my parents.
Oh my gosh.
Them, and I'm sure you feel that too.
Huge.
So what do you wish people understood more about a sibling loss?
I think I think the thing that really comes to mind and heart for me is just giving your family network space and full permission to grieve in their own way. I think, and to also just embrace that you lose a sibling and it changes the entire dynamic of how everybody relates to one another. Like, me and my younger brother is different. Me and my older brother is different. Like, it changes everything. So just being, when you're ready, when you can, being aware that the change is going to happen. Some of it doesn't feel great. Some of it actually is kind of cool, like you find closeness in different ways. It's different. It's a really like dichotomous situation, but yeah. And then also just honoring what helps you may not help your mom, your dad, your brother. And I don't know. I think also I was someone who I feel like my life prepared me to like dive headfirst into this and just process it and not want to look the other way. Like, I was like, whatever I have to do to get through this, I want to look at it, I want to feel it, I don't want to hold it, I don't want to push it away, I want to process it. But I think there are some people who, unfortunately, sometimes it is your family, that they're just not ready, or they'll get to a certain stage and they'll be like, that's as far as I can go, and you just have to honor that.
That's a big one, and I think that's a hard piece for anyone who's grieving to understand that no one can set boundaries on your grief, but you cannot also
impose
expectations or anything like that on others.
You can't.
Which is really hard, because obviously you want people to show up for you in a way that makes you feel good and in a way that benefits you. But sometimes people just can't do that. They can't show up how you need them to. And you have 100%. To kind of accept and appreciate the ways that they can show up, if that makes sense.
Yes. You want the best for everybody. It's hard to watch them struggle or suffer. Like, the amount of times like I have received those phone calls of just my family members breaking down, or they're just like, I don't know what to do, or like whatever. And you're just like, man, I just want to give you the blueprint of what helped me. But also it's unfortunately not going to work. You just have to be there. So,
like we mentioned, he was he had a different relationship with every single person in your family. So what worked for you won't work for others, and vice versa. That one hit. I like it. That's making me think. That's been a hard thing for me to wrap my head around, is the way people have shown up for me with losing both parents, because just like you probably feel this way, there's not many people that can relate to you to losing a sibling, because we're still really young to have these big impactful deaths happen. Just like with me with my parents, like, who at 32 has lost both parents?
Yeah, that's wild.
Really bare minimums here. Like, not many people know in my specific circle. So it can be very isolating, and you want people to show up for you and understand, but they don't understand. And that just, it is what it is. For me personally, I appreciate when people acknowledge, I will never understand what it's like to lose a sibling.
Yes.
And then ask questions, or just state that, for me is like good. Acknowledging that you can't understand what someone's gone through
100%
is super important. On to my favorite question, and the last one. The way I like to close out podcasts of when we're talking about someone, I did this with my mom and my dad. What is your favorite memory or moment or thing about Millie? What stands out in your mind about Millie?
Honestly, I gotta go with the last time that I actually was with him and saw him. And it was on my 28th birthday. and we were all together for my birthday dinner. And honestly, like, we were laughing our heads off. His son was there, like, everybody was there. It was just he showed up, like, just the whole thing, just the whole night. We played this hilarious, it's sort of like a board game, but anyways. And we still talk about just the jokes, the whole night. It was just, yeah, I'm almost like, it's a weird thing. I felt very blessed to have that final memory, because imagine we had gotten in a fight or something. Like, there's just so many ways. Like, that's probably the best, like, unknowing goodbye I could have ever had with my brother.
Yeah.
And because it was my birthday, we had dinner, and then I was going out to meet a couple of friends. And he, like I said earlier, like, he was just so pumped when I was like out and about and excited. And so he was like, okay, Rudie's gotta go. She's going out now. Like, and he was like getting his son's car seat, and like, he's like, we gotta go, guys. Like, she's going out. Like, he was just so like, have the best night. Like, you know what I mean? So.
It just feels like your biggest cheerleader.
Oh my gosh. Always. I started teaching yoga. And like, this is, I started teaching yoga, and he would like post about it. Like, he's just hilarious. I would go back, obviously, in my grief, I'd like look back at our history on there, and like always, he was like resharing my stuff. He came to a couple yoga classes, laughed his butt off all the time. Like, he was that. He was like the hype man. Yeah, 100%.
Your number one fan.
Yes.
That reminds me so much of my dad. He used to always watch my daily walks and ask me about them. So when I go on them, I still think of him. And I'm sure you probably feel the same way with your brother when you do
100%
certain things that you know
yes.
he'd be hyping up, like
this
book.
Cheering on.
He would be hyping this up.
Yes.
Out of the yin yang, I feel like he would buy like a car and like just like plaster this all over it and be like, my sister wrote a book.
Like, straight up. I never even thought about that. Oh man, that's so funny.
He would be going nuts over this. I feel like he would be so like, it's about me.
True. Period.
Yeah, he would be so excited.
Oh man.
You had such a nice birthday with him though, and it was your final moments with them unknowingly, but that those moments were so peaceful and beautiful and just truly who he was. Like, that's how I picture him again, being like, yeah, she's going out, let's go, exciting, go.
Yeah.
I love that. Thank you for sharing that with everyone and with me.
Of course.
Thank you so much for being on here today and sharing everything that you did. Truly, again, when I knew this podcast was coming, I was like, Rudie, number one.
I love that. I really appreciate it.
It's just so important for me to have voices of different grievers in the sense of who they've lost. Like, I'm sure I could find a bunch of people who've lost a dad or a mom, but it's nice to hear a different side of grief, especially for me, for one that I will never experience. Like, I will never experience a sibling grief. So it's very eye-opening to hear your story and your brother Millie. But thank you so much for being on here.
Thank you.
I so appreciate you. If people want to find you on social media and find your book, where can they find all things Rudie Jay?
You can just go to Rudie Jay. Instagram is probably, that's my main one. You can find anything you need there. And if anyone is going through grief or has questions, or please feel free to reach out. Like, I am such a heart-forward human. And I think when you go through something so deep and so powerful and so painful, it actually helps to hold the hand of others as they go through it, if you can. Yeah.
100%. I couldn't agree more.
Rudie Jay.
Thank you so much for being on the Parentless Daughter. That was Rudie Jay, everyone, sharing her story about her brother Millie. So big love to Millie. Thank you.
Thank you. Bye.
Bye.